let's see how we can make the time on LinkedIn more constructive. And AI certainly does that. And with the right tools, you'll find that you'll be more effective on the platform and be able to optimize your profile and do outreach that you couldn't have done years ago because of this technology. So I think people appreciate that aspect of it. They know LinkedIn, okay, but they don't know AI and how they use it together.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone, to the Millionaire by Morning podcast. We have with us today a guest that you will want to sit in on. A guest by the name of Al Kushner, an award-winning author, a sought-after LinkedIn growth strategist. We really have been in tune with LinkedIn lately. You want to sit for this podcast and listen in, chime in. He has a book, The AI LinkedIn Advantage, that we're going to be speaking about. Al Kushner, welcome to the Millionaire by Morning podcast.
Thank you. Looking forward to being here and appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks a lot for being on today. We definitely want to dive into LinkedIn. We want to know as much as we can about it. And you're a specialist on the topic. What I would like to do first and foremost, though, is go back. Can you take us back a little bit? Well, maybe not a little bit. I don't know when it began, but, as far as I guess I would say the path that took you to being the expert, the entrepreneurial bug. When did it bite you? Did you start in corporate? Can you tell us a little bit about your origin story?
Well, my focus has been in sales and insurance and focusing in pretty much on health insurance, which I know is a controversial topic nowadays, especially that the whole Congress has, in session now, but Democrats didn't get what they wanted, unfortunately, but a lot of people will be affected by this. So my focus has been on health insurance, Medicare, and I would say that my involvement with LinkedIn came pretty much about 20 years ago when it first started as a social media platform back, I think, in 2006. And there wasn't much about it at the time, but I saw the potential that it had. And I started to stick around because it sounded like a platform that has a lot of potential to connect with a lot of people. Fast forward 20 years later, there's over 1.2 billion users on the platform, and AI has been really taking a hold of it in the past 3 years of changing the whole landscape of how we connect on LinkedIn. So excited to share some of my insight in my book that I talk about, the AI LinkedIn Advantage, and hopefully some of your listeners could get some value from this.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being able to share the insight with us. We would like to get into the book. So did you first and foremost, when you began with LinkedIn, let's say 20 years ago, did you tie your industry into LinkedIn, or were you attempting to go in as a coach, a LinkedIn coach at that time?
Well, I would say it would probably with the industry because LinkedIn was just kind of like in its infancy, and nobody really cared about LinkedIn for the most part. It was mostly a place where people post resumes, and they weren't really looking at strategy at that point. So this coaching developed many years later on because of the amount of upgrades and features that were available thanks to Microsoft, which purchased LinkedIn. I believe they have created an amazing platform for many people, but so many rich features a lot of people are confused about, and that's where I saw an opportunity to create an awareness of my ability to help people to use LinkedIn, optimize their profile, and focus in on outreach strategies that are effective for making quality connections. So yeah, it evolved, I would say.
Right. It definitely evolved. Although other platforms, other social media platforms evolved as well. Why did you choose and stick with LinkedIn?
Because LinkedIn is pretty much the only platform where business to businesses meet for the most part, and that was where my audience was. They weren't on other platforms for the most part, and it was something that it was a professional platform where people carried about themselves. I mean, we could take a look at, let's say, Facebook, for example, but that really wasn't the audience to look at, and the way things were done on that platform, particularly a lot of spam and other things that were challenging. I would say that LinkedIn did a good job in terms of cleaning that mess up. So, and I wanted to be in a place where I know that my message can get across to the people who are, the people who are part of that platform. They're on LinkedIn there, and that's really the place to be.
Definitely for businesses. And it stands out in that way. It's been the only platform that stands out. Um, you know, they do kind of compare Twitter, now X, not they don't compare it to LinkedIn, but it is a place that you can communicate with business owners. However, the LinkedIn platform is specifically, and it some of the time I see where people get highly upset when people try to make posts and turn LinkedIn into one of the other social media platforms. People are highly upset about it because they want to keep it as a business, discussing business and business to business platform. So I think that's a very good strategy for business owners and a very good and the best platform for business owners to be on. You here lately, your book, if we can get into it, can you break down as far as the book is concerned, how how it begins, and does it start strictly with AI, or do you go back to the origins of to understand, basically to understand the whole entire concept of LinkedIn? Do you go back to the origin story of LinkedIn, or do you just start with AI?
Well, I kind of get started. I mean, let's take a look at, as an example, the new Superman movie, right? I mean, pretty much everybody knows the origins of Superman, but that story doesn't start, where he was born or whatever. And people don't want to hear that. They already know that. They know about LinkedIn, but they're not really familiar with AI. So I said, well, let's see how we can make the time on LinkedIn more constructive. And AI certainly does that. And with the right tools, you'll find that you'll be more effective on the platform and be able to optimize your profile and do outreach that you couldn't have done years ago because of this technology. So I think people appreciate that aspect of it. They know LinkedIn, okay, but they don't know AI and how they use it together. And that's how the book
Okay.
is.
All right. So let's get into it, Al. Let's get into it. What are the benefits? How is AI used on LinkedIn?
Well, for starters, I would say that you can use it to optimize your profile, focusing on certain keywords, because LinkedIn is a search engine, for the most part. And when people are looking to search, whether they're doing research on companies, competitors, maybe job prospects, it all depends on your profile and how you want to be seen on that platform. And for those who are, taking it seriously, they work with me to optimize the profile. So for example, their headshot looks great, the background image is professional, the keywords are optimized for search engine on LinkedIn. These are just some of the factors that are helpful because you don't really get a second chance to make a first impression, and that's really what I help people do is get that first impression, whatever they're looking for a job or looking for an opportunity to connect with a business owner. You're judged basically on what your cover is, and that's really makes a difference.
That's a good way to put it. Um, your first impression, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And thing about LinkedIn is it's right there in your face once you search for someone. When you're mentioning AI, I would like to understand, does, like, a lot of these other platforms now, websites, and they've decided to produce their own AI. Does LinkedIn produce their own AI as you are uploading your pictures? You know, um, are they telling you what to say in your biography, or do you have to go to a chat GPT or a Claude and produce it there and bring it back over to LinkedIn?
Well, that would be the latter. It's really working with ChatGPT, Claude, or some of the other AI technologies because those are much more robust technologies for the most part. And LinkedIn has somewhat dabbled in AI. I imagine they may be, creating more robust programs, but for the most part, most people usually use these third-party apps that help to create content that is meaningful for whoever they're going to connect with.
Let me ask you this, and I don't know if it's your personal opinion or a business opinion that maybe you've done research on. But what is your thoughts on LinkedIn? I know for all of these years, you know, you put your picture, people put their picture because that's who will be doing the job. That's who you would be interviewing. That's who you would be meeting with or working for. What do you think about the avatars or people putting up something other than their picture that was made by AI? Don't know, either to enhance their picture, to be an avatar, or something of that nature. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, AI has been used to perhaps enhance certain images and pictures, but I think anything other than your real picture, I think would be inauthentic for the most part. So when you see things that, I mean, that's what LinkedIn requires is a headshot, and preferably a recent one would be ideal. But I think in addition to those images, the background image is also something important. Have you looked on your profile, for example, in your background image? Have you expanded upon that at all, or have you looked at LinkedIn in that
I've
aspect?
looked at LinkedIn. I don't I just I just use a picture of myself. It's not professional or anything. And I just I see a lot of people use now. I can understand touch-ups, but now I see it's almost like a different version of a person. The version that I don't know, like you mentioned, Superman, you know,
Mhm.
it's their version of Superman, themselves being Superman instead of just being everyday average Joe. So that's what I'm seeing a lot of. So I don't know if that's something that will enhance, the profile, or if we should keep it how it was 20 years ago when it's just a picture of us that, we took with our phone.
Well, the pictures of the phone are really, you know, amateurish at best. You want to try to avoid that. Spend some money, get a headshot done. Even with the AI technology nowadays, you could take, for example, an image of yourself with a camera, but you can have the AI to dress you up maybe in a suit and tie or other things that will enhance your professionalism because that's really what it is. It's a professional platform. But if you're taking these kind of selfies, that's save that for Facebook, or other platforms, where they're not as strict about that. But
Right,
you want to be
right. I
taken
like that.
seriously. You really want to step up your game on that aspect.
Got that. Got that. Understood. Understood. That's a good gem. That's a good jewel for anyone that's out here listening. Keep it professional on LinkedIn. Save the silly stuff for Facebook and Instagram, and do whatever you want to do on X. You can be whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
So Al,
Hmm.
as far as LinkedIn goes, we spoke about the professional picture. And then what's next? If you were able to give, a rundown of most important to least important, what would be next in the lineup of professional picture?
Well, let's start with, let's say, your profile, for example. All right. You want to have a professional headshot. You don't want to have sunglasses on there when you're taking like a selfie, because that's, people want to see your eyes. They want to see, who's behind that. So you really want to have a first impression. You want to be taken seriously. Get a professional headshot. Same thing with background image. Now um, you're the founder of the podcast, and maybe, for example, use that image as a way to talk about some of the things what your podcast is about. I think would be helpful for a lot of people. There are programs like Canva. Have you used Canva at all? That platform?
Yeah, I use Canva. Yes.
Okay, well, guess what? Canva could help you create a billboard behind, for your LinkedIn profile. That's going to make a difference of you getting, people interested in maybe being a guest on your program to perhaps highlight some of the things that your show is about. And that is important to look at. So I'd focus in on that, and then also look at other things, for example, keywords that if someone is doing a search on LinkedIn to, find out more about what services that you offer. So these are all important things. And also, I always stress is that when you make a connection with someone, you know, get accepted by that individual. I always important. Hopefully, you'll accept my connection. That'll be a great thing to have, because what I like about it is that people find that when you're on a first connection basis, there's ways to you know, create more of a relationship building, I think, which is important. When you can send messages or send up ideas that could be helpful. And this is also important, particularly when you're looking at other aspects. I'm not sure, have you joined any groups on LinkedIn at all?
I have, but I'm not active.
Okay, well, I think that's something that a lot of people are missing out on, because groups are great because there are a lot of people who are in those groups. And when you're doing any kind of outreach, they usually like to, accept people who may be part of a group that they're in. I think there's an
Right.
opportunity for you to do that. Certainly, you have one or two groups that you're in, but you can do literally up to 20 groups, if not more. And that helps to expand your reach. And I think that's important, especially if you are in the area of doing podcasting and looking for potential guests. Well, there are great groups that you can join. I would look for more sizable groups, I would say, that have a lot more members. And that's something that's important. In addition, you want to look at getting recommendations. That I think is a crucial thing that a lot of people are missing out on. And if anyone has been, maybe a guest on your program, if they have a LinkedIn profile, well, that's a great opportunity to reach out and ask for some kind words. Because I think that's going to make a difference of you getting certainly a lot more traction. But most importantly, is trust is really what it's all about. So if you are able to do that, you'll find more people more receptive to, getting your invitation, and as well as to create awareness. Perhaps potential sponsors for your podcast would be great if you had people who are extremely happy with the results that they have of being on your program. So think about the potential in that. What do you think about that?
I I accept the the strategy. Thinking about it, as you're talking about it, that's I'm seeing it in play. Um,
Yeah, I think you probably could benefit from checking out my book, I believe, because definitely there's a lot of good things that you can get. In fact, I actually have a free resource for you as well as your listeners. And I created a profile optimization worksheet that you can get at my website at linkvantage.com/audit. And it'll give you all the good resources on tips on how to optimize your profile and how to stand out among the competition. I think that's really important, because people, who are on LinkedIn, a lot of times they're in competitive situations, and you have to be able to, rise above the competition. So any type of insight that's helpful will make a difference in terms of you getting a lot more traction. And I think that's incredible for a lot of your listeners to learn about using that platform. in a way that could help get the jobs they're looking for, or get the connections that normally you can't get. I mean, just think about nowadays when people try to reach out, they're doing emails, but sometimes emails go to spam filters and junk filters. But LinkedIn, well, that usually gets noticed, and that really can make a difference if you getting the connection with someone who may be impossible to reach through other methods.
Definitely. Definitely. So when you're not the first connection, and let's say you want to reach out to somebody that's, a third, your advice would be the best way to reach them is kind of, because I don't think you can just add like, a first person if you're a third. Would you say the best way to reach them is kind of just like to brand yourself properly, put yourself out there and have them to notice you?
Well, I would say that if you're reaching out to a third connection, which really doesn't have any relationship at all or any other connections, that could be the most challenging of connections, because a lot of times they won't necessarily, accept your connection. And if you get a lot of declines, LinkedIn's algorithm will kind of look at you as maybe as a spammer for the most part. So you want to kind of avoid that. But I think the most effective way of doing that is after you optimize your profile. And I think that means including updated headshot, background image, is an opportunity for you to do an outreach. But the way to do an outreach would be to simply follow that individual and find out on their profile. There's a little bell that you can actually ring, and then actually notifies you when they post on LinkedIn. And when they do post, that's your opportunity to reach out to them in a way that they will you'll get noticed. But the way to do that, of course, is you can use AI technology and take the information that they posted and reply to that information in a way that's constructive, that's going to enhance that particular post, and maybe even ask a question to that person you want to connect with about the post. You'll find that to be a very effective method. And if they do respond to that, well, then that's an opportunity to make a connection, to invite the person to connect with you. I
Right.
think that's a very strategic approach, and it shows that you know you care about what they have to say, and I think that's going to make a difference.
That's a good one. That's a very good tip. That's a very good tip. Notification.
Yeah, I use that a lot on influencers on LinkedIn, uh, and I follow some of the top influencers on the platform, and I get notified immediately as soon as they post. And the crucial time to get is when they post within the first 1 minute or 2 minutes, because they can have hundreds of thousands of followers. And of course, as soon as they post, all the followers usually respond or reply to that. But if you reply first, your reply will actually be on the top of that influencer's posting right underneath. So all the other people will follow behind that, but they'll see your post first because you're on top. And that can make a difference of you getting noticed and possibly having your own followers as a result, if the information you provide to that post is valuable for the influencer. So that's another strategy to use.
That's good. You've answered a question that I have had for my entire time being on social media. I never knew how that was done. I always wondered how I ended up being maybe a day or 2 days late on a post that I followed someone. I thought I was a contributor, but there's always people ahead of when I noticed the post. So that's a good one. Okay. All right. That's a great tip.
Yeah, it's
Got it.
very helpful. So yeah, you should definitely look at that, and I include that in my book as a resource, because that's a definitely a great way to grow you grow your followers on LinkedIn, and certainly these influencers obviously have a fairly sizable following, and it's a way to get noticed and get attention. So I definitely recommend taking that as a good strategy.
Okay. All right, Al. And let me ask you about the next thing, which is it's up in the forefront of all things marketing, and it is shorts, reels, videos. I see a lot of it on LinkedIn. I've been reading about it, the importance of it, to the algorithm on LinkedIn. Can you give us some insight into that?
Yeah, the videos they recommend anywhere from 30 seconds to 90 seconds is kind of a sweet spot. And also, it's when you're posting the videos, the times a day also are a factor in that respect. But it's most important is the content of the video itself, and it should be educational by nature. And I post a lot of videos in the groups that I'm part of. I'm part of at least 2 dozen groups on LinkedIn, and I usually post 3, 4 times a week, and that usually gets me a lot of interest, I would say, for people who end up following me as a result of the information I provide. And the groups appreciate it because it's a value to the members. But again, you can post it directly to your own, post as well. Uh, I would say that videos are certainly a very uh, growing, uh, growing on LinkedIn's platform. The algorithm definitely loves that, but they also love carousels also, which is really up and coming, and perhaps even more than videos itself. So that could be an idea worth exploring.
Definitely. So you being a LinkedIn user, of course, you've grown with it, and at this time, AI is fairly young. LinkedIn is is maturing, but still bringing in younger, you know, um, tools. Would you say that this is a platform? Could this be a person's only platform? Would you say it's robust enough to be a business owners or entrepreneurs only platform?
I guess it depends on the individual, what their direction they're taking. So let's say if they're a rapper, for example, I'm not sure if LinkedIn would be an ideal platform because um, I would say YouTube or Instagram perhaps it gets more traction that way. But a small business owner, perhaps accountant, an attorney, a financial planner, they seem to have the best results on that particular platform. So it depends on the profession that they're in and the level of comfort they are with working with LinkedIn and using AI. So all it all depends.
Got it. Got it. And you have on your website, I want to mention this before we go, you have courses available. You want to get into that and tell the listeners about your courses?
Yeah. So I have a profile optimization course that they can take, and it's comes with about 20 different modules that helps you to optimize your profile and be able to stand out, which makes a difference. Some of the mistakes that people make when creating their profile, I list in the course itself. And I have a second course that focuses on outreach. In other words, once your profile is optimized, the best way to connect with people, how to connect with them, creating content like newsletters and articles and scripts of videos. These are things that are important and helps you basically raise your level of awareness on the platform and also establish yourself as a thought leader, which I think is a very important aspect of it. So, just these two tools alone, these courses are really helpful for a lot of people who really want to, learn about, LinkedIn and how to use it strategically to be able to get the results they're looking for, whether they're looking for a job or making sales, more connections. This is definitely the tools to use to help them become better on the platform.
Okay. Okay. Um, you've answered a lot of questions that I've had. I know that in this short time that we've spent together. I've been on LinkedIn, and I can truly say that I am not, I don't spend most of my time on LinkedIn, but I can definitely see the benefits of it. And you've made it clear of how to benefit from it. Um, where can people find you as far as your socials and also purchase the book?
All right, well, obviously find me on LinkedIn. Just looking at my name. My book is available at Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, fine retailers. Comes in print version, ebook form, and also audiobook. So those who prefer listening, which I do a lot, it's available on Spotify, I believe Audible as well. So worth checking out. My website is linkvantage.com, where they can check out some of the courses that I offer on there. And I have a free tool worksheet for optimizing your profile. And that's also at linkvantage.com/audit, which is a great resource to check out. And if you want to learn more about AI, check out my podcast that I have. It's called the AI Authority Edge, and drops 4 times a week on Spotify as well as Apple. And I hope a lot of people understand more about AI and not to be afraid of it, but to embrace some of the latest changes and technology that's available.
That's good. So not only LinkedIn, but you on your podcast, you do a deep dive into AI completely.
Yeah, I talk about some of the things I have on Tuesday, like today, Toolbox Tuesday, talk about some of the tools that I've used, which one works, which failed. And Wednesday, I talk about some of the challenges that people face on LinkedIn, some of the winning success stories, and also some of the stories that were disasters for people. And Thursday also I get more involved on LinkedIn strategies. And Friday I have FAQ, which answers questions about people's concern about AI and LinkedIn. So it's really and it's brief too. It's 10 minutes average, so you don't spend a lot of time on these things. So I make it quick, and people seem to like that. And it's something you could take on the go and listen to it at your leisure.
Okay, man, that's awesome. We're gonna have to get that link and put it in the show notes for this show.
Okay, we can do
All
that.
right. So I
Hmm.
want to thank you, Al. Thank you again for coming on the show today. I know the listeners will get a lot from this interview because LinkedIn is a place that I believe if you're a listener of this show, that's a place that you should be at. If you're an entrepreneur, business owner, even if you're looking for a job and you're looking to expand, that's where the connections are at. So, Al, thanks again for coming on. And anyone listening, just continue to make moves, make money, and make meaningful memories. And we'll see you on the next one.